Asianflushie is an OG poker, underground, and boss. He's perhaps one of the most underrated and successful poker players in the history of the game, who is not a household name. Today, we're going to see how he won $240,000 in a heads-up match. SeaLlama is a new school rising superstar who is a part of the next generation of top-tier poker high-stakes talent. SeaLlama has been known to tear up the high stakes on ACR and is now making waves playing high stakes live. As a bonus, we have elite strategy from one of the best poker players in the world. You don't want to miss this battle. In our first hand, we see SeaLlama open raise the button and Flushie put in the 3-bet with the 7-6 of spades. SeaLlama calls and Flushie flops bottom pair and continuation bets large. SeaLlama calls again, and on the turn, Flushie checks it over to SeaLlama, who bets small for 20% of the pot. The high-stakes cash game world champion Owen, aka Prodigy, was kind enough to offer his commentary on this match. He told me that out of position should be super capped when they polarize flop, then don't check raise over the small turn bet. Flushie calls the turn, and on the river, Flushie checks to SeaLlama, who's going to shove all in for the overbet. Owen's key insight in this hand is that due to the out-of-position range construction, in position can actually jam some Jack X here for value. Most of out-of-position's hands are draws or very weak pairs, so a hand like King Jack in theory is basically never beat. Asianflushie is going to hero call down with his bottom pair, and he picks off SeaLlama bluffing with his missed gut shot. In our second hand, Flushie opens the button this time, and SeaLlama puts in the 3-bet with the ace-8 of diamonds. Flushie calls, and SeaLlama is going to flop top pair, top kicker. SeaLlama overbets the flop because his hand is strong but vulnerable. On low flops, it's very common to try and play two streets with his hand strength. Flushie is going to call, and we go to the turn. The turn completes the flush, but other than that, it's basically a brick for Flushie, and only SeaLlama can have top pair, so he's just going to pile it in to get paid and deny equity, which is going to be his play. This is part of the reason for the big flop bet in the first place. You can just close your eyes and shove on these turns. If they have a flush, it's just a cooler. Owen's key insight in this hand is that Flushie's hand is probably a 0 EV call or close to it. He can't fold this hand strength always because he has too many similar hands. But it's not an exciting call. He would rather call a hand with a redraw, but unfortunately, there aren't a lot of those. In our third hand, we see Flushie open the button and SeaLlama defends the big blind, sitting over 300 big blinds deep. Flushie flops 2-pair with the Jack 5, and he c-bets for 24%. SeaLlama check raises, and Flushie elects to 3-bet the flop. And then, SeaLlama puts in the massive 100 big blind 4-bet on the flop. Owen's key insight is that he thinks that the large 4-bet is designed to put draws in an awkward spot. It sets up turn shoves on some cards, but also, when you're deep, draws to the nuts have a lot of implied odds, so you have to give them a very bad price to actually make their life difficult. Flushie is going to call, and we go to a turn. SeaLlama checks the turn over to Flushie, and Flushie is going to bet small. Flushie's turn size in position is sort of saying he's playing against the big blind's air. Basically, if you have a draw, you're up against a boat super often, so he can bet very small and life still sucks because you're sort of priced in, but you have reversed implied odds. SeaLlama calls, and we go to a river. It wouldn't be insane to see the flush come in and SeaLlama end up folding his hand to a shove from Flushie if he decided to turn his hand into a bluff, given the blockers. The river is going to go check, check. And in SeaLlama's shoes, leading the river doesn't make much sense, as he'd basically be repping Queen 10 going for value against some random straight draw. In hand 4, we see SeaLlama open raise the button, and he gets 3-bet by Flushie in the big blind. SeaLlama calls, and we go to a flop. Flushie C bets for 24%, and SeaLlama elects to raise the flop. According to Prodigy, SeaLlama's flop raise here is fancy play syndrome. Flushie calls the raise, and so we go to a turn, King of Diamonds, which goes check check. There's a lot of exploitative justifications to play increased raising frequencies in these spots, but SeaLlama's hand doesn't really have anything fun about raising it other than the unblockers for the river call. So when Flushie decides to overbet shove the river, unsurprisingly, SeaLlama flicks it in here. Owen's key insight in this hand is against someone overdoing the merge raises. Ace-Queen is a very clean value shove on the river. You lose sometimes, but there's way more hands like this that pay you than there are that beat you. In hand 5, we see SeaLlama open the button 2.5x and Flushie puts in the 3-bet with the pocket 6s. SeaLlama calls and Flushie flops a set and checks it over to SeaLlama. Sets usually check to check call, but Flushie isn't the kind of guy to just do that because the solver tells him to. Having the 6 of diamonds makes the hand a bit better in all lines, but you're going to be happy to play for stacks on a brick with this hand regardless of the line. SeaLlama checks back the flop and we go to a turn. Flushie checks the turn and SeaLlama bets for 3/4 pot. Flushie goes for the check raise, which SeaLlama calls. The river is the 8 of diamonds, giving Flushie the 6 high flush, and he checks it over to SeaLlama. SeaLlama decides to move all in, and Owen's key insight for this hand is that the river check call by Flushie seems to be really sharp, and the showdown demonstrates why. SeaLlama has a weaker top pair that would be one of the more intuitive ones to check back on the turn, and it would be also easier to let go of to a raise. Kickers don't play, but overcards do stop them hitting top pair outs against you if they check raise with, say, the King of Diamonds, Jack X. So King Queen, Ace Queen will be preferred continues. However, if SeaLlama has too many top pairs, no redraws, turn bet calls, then Flushie's hand goes from being a marginal catcher to super printing because they have very little showdown value and are intuitive to transfer to bluffs for strong players like SeaLlama. In our last hand, Flushie open raises the button and SeaLlama puts in the 3-bet with the 8-6 offsuit. According to Prodigy, this is a low-frequency play for SeaLlama with this hand combo. Flushie calls and we see a flop. SeaLlama makes a large continuation bet and Flushie calls. On the turn, SeaLlama picks up a pair of 6s and checks it over to Flushie. Flushie bets for around 28% on the turn, and it's a size where Flushie can bet some top pair hands and not only flushes. SeaLlama calls, and we go to the river. On the river, SeaLlama checks again, and asianflushie is going to move all in. SeaLlama calls, and it's hard to say, given the showdown, because Flushie's hand is a very high-frequency play in this line. So, Owen's key insight is, it's difficult to say whether Flushie got owned or he was just unlucky. It could also be other factors like game flow that played into SeaLlama's call, which are hard to judge from a single hand history. This is Martin Rose for Coin Poker, the signature site that's for the players, by the players.